Live. 10 minutes. Oh, that's 5. Right, I've got 10 minutes. And my co-host, Stinky. Love him so much. Love you. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about something that I've talked about to a couple of clients today or yesterday, whenever. And that's, I've talked about this before, it's what I call unproductive fear-based thoughts. And unproductive fear-based thoughts are thoughts that are unproductive and have a base in fear. See how I came up with that name? Unproductive fear-based thoughts. So those are the sort of very repetitive looping thoughts that we often have about things that, when we're having that thought, feel very real and very relevant and scary, and like this is a really important thought that I'm having here. I need to find an answer to this thought. That's what they feel like. An example of an unproductive fear-based thought that just about every person eating sort of recovery has is the thought of infinite weight gain, as I call it. It's just that thought of like, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the person whose mental hunger never dies down. I'm just going to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until one day I'm going to explode. So that thought, we can see that thought comes from fear. That thought comes from fear of weight gain, right? That's where that thought's stemming from. And the reason it's unproductive is because you're going to start looking around on the internet. So you're like, this thought is so important. I've got to find out if this is true before I can go ahead with recovery. I've got to see if people actually eat so much that they explode. And so you start fucking around on the internet, Googling it, like trying to work out, reading other people's recovery stories, looking for the answer to this question. Is it possible that I'm going to eat so much that I explode? And you probably won't find it. But even if you did, say if you found the answer, and there was this answer, Google said to you, yes, people actually can eat so much that they explode. There's a 0.0.0.0.0.1 chance that might happen to you. So say if you found the answer to this thought and it turned out to be that it could actually happen. Well, what are you going to do? Are you just going to not recover just in case that you eat so much that you explode? No, you're not. If you've made the decision to recover, you're going to fucking recover. And that's the reason that thought's just completely unproductive. It just wastes a load of time, and the answer doesn't make a difference to your recovery. And what you'll find is there's tons of thoughts just like that keep on coming up and coming up and coming up. And they're coming up because you're afraid. And then the more attention that you pay to them, the more your brain goes like, well, my human's paying a lot of attention to this concept of exploding. This must be important. I'm going to keep prompting my human. I'm going to keep reminding my human about this concept of exploding. I better remind them a lot. And that's why the thoughts come up a lot, because by paying attention to the thoughts, we teach our brains that the thoughts are important. It's not because the thoughts actually are important. It's just because our brains learn via what we pay mental attention to as to what's important or not. And that's why your brain thinks it's important. So that's what I wanted to talk about. When you recognize that's an unproductive fear-based thought, generally they're ones that come up a lot and are completely stupid. But don't feel it. They feel very important and real. What you need to be able to do is you need to label it. Oh, that's an unproductive fear-based thought. And then you've got to kick it out of the park and stop paying attention to it. Okay? All right. Ooh, there's a lot of questions here. We'll start at the top. Jenny says, tips to get out of quasi and to stop overfeeding my partner at the same time. It's a thing. I used to do it as well. So, Jenny, you recognize that you've done it. That's the main thing. You recognize that you are pushing food onto your significant other because you're afraid to eat it yourself, because you want to eat it yourself, and because it makes you feel that you can eat more food if the person sitting next to you is eating more food. And so your desire to push food onto somebody else is mental hunger. That's what you got to label that as. If you have the urge to get somebody else to eat, offer someone else food, whatever it is, that is mental hunger. And because I've just told you that, now you can't get away with pretending that you didn't know it was true, or that you didn't know it was mental hunger, because now you do know it's mental hunger, because I just told you it. And because you now know that your urge to do that is mental hunger, it means that you are accountable now to not allowing yourself to do that. And whenever you do feel the urge to do that, it's your responsibility to go and get yourself some food and eat it. All right? So that's what you have to do now. No excuses, because I know that you know what you need to do. Okay? Thompson, hey, so in lockdown, I haven't been able to do the things I enjoy, and literally I've been eating out of boredom. What do I do? Keep at it. There's no such thing as boredom eating. What's happened is you've gone into lockdown. When you say, I haven't been able to do the things I enjoy, what you actually mean is I haven't been able to do the things that distract me from my hunger. And so now you are no longer distracted by your hunger. And guess what? You're really fucking hungry. Who would have thought? Boredom eating isn't a thing. I used to think that boredom eating was the thing when I was in recovery because I wanted to eat the whole time if I didn't distract myself. The thing is, now that I'm not in recovery and now that I'm out of recovery for a while and now that I'm not in energy deficit, I don't boredom eat. Do you know what I do when I'm bored? I start picking up my phone and fucking around on the internet. The only reason that you want to eat a lot is because you need to eat a lot. It's nothing to do with boredom. You just don't have the distraction there to distract you from that fact. So see lockdown as a gift. That's helped you see how hungry you are. And stop labeling it as boredom eating and get on with enjoying eating, because that's all it is. All right. Iona says, is it normal to have anxiety when you feel hunger pangs in recovery, like butterflies in your stomach, when you didn't before? Also to have anxiety when eating what used to be safe foods? Yeah, I think that a lot of, anxiety is pretty normal in recovery. Most of it stems from fear of weight gain. That could also be a little bit of excitement about you getting to eat. I used to feel that as well. I used to get very excited about the fact that I was allowed to eat, or that I was allowing myself to eat, So I think that the main thing, just don't necessarily worry about it. Just keep eating. I mean, gosh, that's probably my answer to most things, isn't it? But it doesn't even matter if it's normal or not. It's obviously what's happening to you. And like with most things, the only answer is really to push forward and carry on with recovery and do what you're doing. You know what you need to do. So regardless of the anxiety that you feel when you start to eat, whether it's a fear food or a safe food, just keep on pushing yourself to eat more of that food. And it is possible to feel anxious about eating and to enjoy eating. And God, I know that. Like, I often talk about the first time I ate a pizza in however many bloody years. And I was terrified. I was kind of shaking. Like, I was that sort of worked up about it. And I was also, I was really scared, very anxious, and very excited. A lot of emotion just going through my body. And I still enjoyed eating the pizza. I did. So it's a weird thing, isn't it? But that's because there's a lot of different things. Like the brain does want to eat and the brain does want a pizza and you do enjoy pizza, and all of that is true. And it's also true that you're scared shitless. So we can have two things that feel like they should be opposing, all being true. That's why recovery is such a shit show, honestly, because you're loving it and hating it all at the same time. And that's okay. That's just how it is. And it will calm down as you recover. With that, I'm going to vanish.